Buenos días, good morning. Distinguished authorities, distinguished Secretary General for Universities of the Spanish Ministry of Education, Culture and Sports, distinguished Director General for Universities of the Regional Government of Castile and Leon, distinguished representatives of the International Study Association on Teachers and Teaching, distinguished Vice Dean and members of the Faculty of Education, the conference convener and members of the organizing committee, the conference participants and attendants, dear friends, dear all. On behalf of the University of Salamanca, I'm extremely pleased to convey to all of you a most warm and hearty welcome to this 18th biennial conference of the International Study Association on Teachers and Teaching, entitled Teaching, Search and Research. In addition to thanking you all very much for your attendance, please let me take this opportunity to express our high appreciation to the distinguished representatives of the Ministry and the regional government for the support given to this initiative by honoring us with the present, and also to express this, our gratitude and recognition to the associations on teacher and teaching for having granted us the wonderful and unique opportunity to act as hosts of an international event, which, as is obvious from the list of attendants, has generated extraordinary interest among a big scholarly community concerned with education issues. Of course, this event would have not been possible without the efforts of a devoted organizing committee, and with my high appreciation, please let me give the floor to the conference convener, Juan José Mena Marcos.
Dear colleagues, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Salamanca. It is a great honor and a real pleasure to have you all here to participate in the 18th Biennial Isatt Conference 2017. The series of Isatt conferences have been running for more than 30 years. Since then, scholars around the world have been meeting regularly with the purpose of gaining more insight into teaching. This year's conference theme is Teaching, Search and Research. Teaching Search represents what teachers do normally in their classroom. It's what they understand their students, their learning, and also looking carefully at situations in order to find something beyond the ordinary. Teaching research, on the contrary, it's a systematic inquiry into a subject in order to prove educational theories, a process typically rendered for teacher educators and researchers. In this conference, we aim at bringing together both search and research with the purpose of offering solutions to real problems. The conference program is filled with stimulating sessions, with thought-provoking presentations, and engaging workshops that surely will enrich our vision on the teaching profession. All in all, teachers are the necessary condition for achieving effective educational systems. Educational policies and practices are considerably changing worldwide, and teaching and teacher education is becoming a key issue in such transformation. As McKinsey and Company in 2016 stated, the quality of an education system cannot exceed the quality of its teachers. I hope you enjoy the conference, and I wish you a pleasant stay in Salamanca. So thank you very much for coming to this conference.
Thank you very much for your words and for all the work done as convener of this 17th Isatt conference. It's an honor to give the floor next to the Secretary of Isatt, Susan Elliott-Jones.
Good morning. As we all gather this morning for the conference, it's really interesting to see what has come forth since we visited in January 2016. Maria and Danny and I were invited to Salamanca to visit the facility and see where this conference was going to take place this year. And it's just wonderful to see their plans and their ideas having come to fruition. And what we realize is you can plan and plan and plan a conference, but if nobody comes, you don't have a conference. So thank you all for being here this morning, and enjoy the rest of your week. And I look forward to talking with many of you over the coming days. Thank you very much.
I appreciate the words of the Secretary of Isatt. Please let me give the floor also with extreme recognition to the Vice Dean of our Faculty of Education at the University of Salamanca, Vicente Marcet.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome. So it's a pleasure to be here replacing the Dean of the Faculty of Education, who has not been able to be with us today. Not far from here, we can find the historic building of the University of Salamanca, which was built in the 15th century, and I highly recommend to visit. In one of its classrooms, almost 500 years ago, on January 29, 1577, Fray Luis de Leon, a professor at the University of Salamanca and one of the most famous poets of the Spanish Golden Age, began his class with these words in Latin, "Dicebamus externa die," which means, as we were saying yesterday. But the day before, he had not given any lessons. His last class had been 4 years before, when he was arrested by the Inquisition and kept in prison in Valladolid, accused of speaking heretical and spreading texts prohibited by the Church. Though he had greatly gained from his isolation and less than desirable conditions, Fray Luis continued to actively write and study during his long imprisonment. And when he returned to Salamanca, he continued to teach, as he had done 4 years before. As Vice Dean of International Relations at the Faculty of Education, it's my honor to see that today, as was 500 years ago, teachers and scholars from all over the world, from countries so different and so far away, come to Salamanca to educate, to teach us how to teach, to show us the results of their research in education, in short, to help us improve. So thanks for coming and very welcome to our house, your house. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Vice Dean. It's a real privilege for the university to host this meeting of such an important event and a network of scholars, which is an international reference in the field of education. Maria Asunción Flores, Chair of the Association, we feel extremely proud to have the honor to act as host. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Excelentíssima Doutora Rosário Martín Ruano, Vice-Reitora de Docência, Vice-Rector for Teaching. Excelentíssimo Dr. Jorge Sáenz González, Secretário-Geral das Universidades, General Secretary of Universities. Excelentíssima Doutora Pilar Garcés, Diretora-Geral de Universidades Junta de Castilla y León, General Director of Universities of Castilla y León. Dr. Vicente Marcet, Vice-Decano de la Facultad de Educación. Dr. Susan Elliott Jones, Secretary to Isatt, Dr. Juan Mena Marcos, Chair of the Local Organizing Committee. Dear participants, dear colleagues and friends, welcome to the 18th Bienal Conference of Isatt at the University of Salamanca, Spain. Bienvenidos al 18º Congreso Bienal de la Asociación Internacional de Investigación sobre los Profesores de la Enseñanza. Education is facing global and complex and sometimes unexpected challenges and demands. The quality of teaching and learning at all levels of education remains a key issue for Isatt, and it urges us to rethink our current opportunities for students and teachers to learn and continue to develop within a lifelong perspective. This year, colleagues from more than 50 countries, around 300 colleagues, will gather at this event and share knowledge and experience from various perspectives and contexts with the ultimate goal to improve education for all. This year's conference theme, Teaching Search and Research, will offer opportunities to reflect on diverse teaching contexts as well as on challenges in educational research and practice with implications for policy. This is a timely and relevant topic as it clearly relates to the mission of Isatt, to promote, present, discuss and disseminate empirical research on teachers, teaching and teacher education. This conference includes a wide range of presentations from international scholars who are committed to the quality of education and who offer different lenses through which teaching, learning and teacher education may be challenged, including issues related to the development of knowledge and understanding of teaching practices, to to social and problem-solving competencies, to engaging learning environments, to sustainability of learning and teaching practices, and to innovation and ICT. As educators, teacher educators, and researchers, we need to reflect upon the impact of our work at different levels, not only in terms of knowledge advancement, but also in relation to the quality of education in a globalized and challenging world. It becomes more and more important to share experiences and ideas when complex and sometimes contradictory demands coexist in a very challenging world in which we live. It is therefore crucial to find ways and spaces for creative thinking and reflection about innovative practices for teaching and learning at all levels of education. I encourage you to work collaboratively and to participate in the various dimensions of the conference. Your perspectives in the discussions, meetings, and activities throughout the conference are appreciated. Me complace mucho decirles que es un gran placer y honor para mí estar en la Universidad de Salamanca en el Congreso Bienal de la Asociación Internacional de Investigación sobre los Profesores de la Enseñanza. Me gustaría saludar a todos y agradecer todo el empeño, esfuerzo, trabajo y dedicación en la organización de este evento, que seguramente será un éxito. Muchas gracias por haber aceptado este desafío hace 2 años. Un agradecimiento especial al Dr. Juan Mena Marcos y su equipo por la organización de este congreso. The University of Salamanca is the gracious host of our conference this year. And I would like to express my gratitude to Juan Mena Marcos and his team for their work and endless attention to the details of the conference. They have worked tirelessly with this local planning committee to bring this conference to fruition. This attractive venue, the wide range of topics included under the conference theme, as well as the social program, will ensure that your participation at Isatt 2017 will be most enjoyable, professionally rewarding, and that you will return home with many memories to cherish. Also find some time to experience a bit of Salamanca, a warm, picturesque medieval town and UNESCO World Heritage Site, and its surrounding area. Please also do find some time to visit University of Salamanca, which will be 800 years old in 2018. Being in Salamanca in such a special moment is really a privilege for all of us. Before I finish, I would like to acknowledge the work of all those involved with Isatt, in particular the Executive Committee members, and I would like to identify those who were able to come to Salamanca. Susan Elliott-Jones from Canada, Isatt Secretary. Juan Mena Marcos, Isatt Treasurer and Chair of Local Organizing Committee. Marta Prata Linhares from Brazil. She's over there. Elke Struff from Belgium. She's somewhere, yeah. Wendy Moran from Australia. Isa Danjin Ying from Hong Kong. I'm grateful to all of them for their support and work, but I do also want to say a word of appreciation to all executive committee members who were not able to come to this conference. I also would like to highlight and publicly acknowledge the tremendous work done by our administration, Daniela Otolian, who keeps me busy and is really helpful and supportive. I'm sure you have heard about her, from her if you are an Isatt member. And if you are not an Isatt member yet, please do visit our website and come and talk to us during the conference. There will be a mix and mingle activity today at lunchtime at 1:30 for those new to Isatt in la Sala de las Pinturas, Colégio Arcebispo Fonseca. There is a number of good reasons for you to join the organization. You will have, of course, reduced fees at conferences. You will get the journal of the association, Teachers and Teaching Theory and Practice, which remains one of the most popular journals in education. And also, as an Isatt member, you may apply for bursaries, collaborative research grants, and you will get, of course, our newsletter, and you may also consider participating at our regional conferences. The last one was held in Israel in December 2016. So as you see, there are many good reasons for you to join Isatt community, where you can find a supportive and enthusiastic research community, and where you feel welcome, as I felt 20 years ago when I made the right decision to become a member of Isatt. And I've never missed a conference ever since. The members' meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 5th, in the auditorium. Please, if you are a member, also do not forget to vote for the next conference venue in 2019. I also would like to inform that Isatt Awards 2017 will be announced during the gala dinner on Wednesday. And last but not least, in a way of celebrating the collaboration between Isatt and Taylor and Francis, I'm pleased to say that a virtual special issue has been published and it's now live and available to view. Please have a look at the Teachers and Teaching Theory and Practice webpage and homepage. The collection of articles in this virtual special issue has been made free to view until the end of the year in order for the conference delegates and Isatt members to engage with the journal and make use of the featured papers which are related to the theme of this conference. So thank you again for being here, and again, if you have any suggestion or question, please do come and talk to us. Daniela Otolean, the Isatt administrator, will be outside in her stand and will be also be able to help you. So I would like to extend a warm welcome to all delegates participating in such an inspiring conference, in such a wonderful venue. I'm sure you agree with me in this regard. And I do hope you enjoy your time with colleagues and friends. Thank you. Gracias.
On behalf of the University of Salamanca, we also thank you for your words, and I also want to thank the Director General for Universities for Regional Government in Castile and Leon, Pilar Garcés, for her presence in this inaugural act. We appreciate this institutional support. Director General, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having invited me here. I really appreciate you. For inviting me to participate, because before in my other life I was also a teacher, so I can never forget that I belong to that part of the community who cares about the future of our young people. But before that, I would like also to mention that I was very surprised to see all the activity that the Isatt Association is doing. And for me, it was a great also surprise to see that the acronym of Isatt actually was the International Association of Study on Teachers and Teaching, not of Teachers and Teaching. Because it's interesting to see that all of us, we have to analyze, we have to reflect on what teaching means and not of what teachers only do, because both things are actually very well combined. And I think that is a very important issue that your association is actually basically said or nominated as Association on Teachers and Teachings, a very important issue in all countries. On the other hand, I think it's also important to analyze this preposition on, in which we study the actors and the contents, in the involvement and in the self-critical attitude we all should have when we are dealing with human beings, when we are dealing with education. And I think that's something we are doing, and we should be very proud, especially you, of doing it. And you should be proud because you have reached the age of maturity, haven't you? The 18th biennial is also something very important to celebrate, and it's very important also to celebrate it here, I think, in the University of Salamanca. I would like also to express my full satisfaction to be here in this university, because it's a university that is ancient and wise, not old and in decay. And that is something that we have also to put forward, because I think that is something that George Bernard Shaw once said about education. Even though he was not very content, or he was not very happy with the education he received, he said something that I really think make us go forward in life, which means we are made wise not for the recollection of our past, but for the responsibility for our future. And that is something we are all doing here, and that is something that University of Salamanca is doing very well, celebrating the eighth centenary, in which, of course, they're going to have a lot of events here taking place. But I think it's very important that also in this Isatt conference, I'm very pleased to see that on the 3rd of July, is it the 3rd of July today? Yeah, 3rd of July, you have accomplished a real deed to have gathered so many people here. I don't know in all of your countries, but seeing you here, all this multicultural gathering, in Spain sometimes when they say that teachers do not work too much because they've got the same holidays as students, it means that 2 months holiday, even almost 3, because we break normally in June and we begin again in the middle of September. And they say, what are teachers doing during all that period? Well, they should come here and see what they are doing. They are trying to train themselves in order to train the young people again. So that is not the holidays of doing nothing, but of thinking and of basically continuing our formation and our training in order to make a better future of the future we care for. And of course, it is also a great pleasure for me, even though I left it for the third part of my intervention, not the first part, to be here surrounded by not only the executive chairs of Isatt, of course the organizer and convener, also surrounded by the Vice-Chancellor. We are very good friends now, enemies sometimes, but friends, because we have to actually make the university work. But I think I would like to highlight the presence of Jorge Sainz, the General Secretary of the Ministry, because his presence here means that the government, our government, and we are very proud of it, actually is concerned with education, with the role of education in our society. And I think I really want to express my thanks for his presence here, because it's very important to have people from the government being involved and, of course, valuing what education means in all our countries. Of course, I would like also to express my pleasure to meet the Vice Dean of the Education Faculty of Education, because of course they are doing also a great work putting forward and taking people, all the students, out in our society. And last but not least, but because I really wanted to end up by also reminding you that our role as teachers, and I consider myself a teacher, is much better, because we come from the etymological word of Latin, magister. Magister is something that knows more than something, and I feel very proud of being more a magister than a minister, because minister is the one who knows less, who's actually basically the servant of all. So magister, the teachers, the teaching attitude, I think is something that we should value more in our society, and our society should see what we're doing here, training ourselves, trying to change, trying to adapt to changes in order to construct, to build a better future. Because I think one of the things that we have to do here in our role as teachers is something that, again, Bernard Shaw says, that we have to make people pursue knowledge and not knowledge pursue people, because then we will think that we have to escape from it. And we don't have to escape from it. We really have to be confronted by it. So our task is to make human beings always curious about the world and ready to change the things for the best. Thank you very much, and all the success for this conference.
Thank you very much, Director General for Universities. Let me also add my personal comments on behalf of the University of Salamanca to this event, which, as I've said, makes us feel very privileged. It's a real honor and a pleasure to be able to welcome in the University of Salamanca the regular biennial meeting of an association with such a large tradition, all the more so when this meeting makes it possible for us to commemorate with you all a special landmark in our also very large tradition. As you know, as it has been said, this year we're already celebrating events held in anticipation of our 8th centenary. 8 centuries of history certainly have made us the oldest continuing university in Spain and in the Hispanic world, but in line with what the Director General for Universities suggested, we think that they've also built a solid foundation along the centuries for us to envisage the future and face its challenges. Education is certainly a challenge for society, and how to live up to the always evolving expectations in relation to education in ever-changing societies is a challenge for higher education institutions, as education providers on site acting in particular contexts, but also as education researchers, as scholars who need to think and rethink critically and also comparatively by looking at other contexts, existing models and future possibilities for teaching practice. Innovation in teaching is certainly a strategic area for the University of Salamanca, both transversally within all of our departments and in the field of research, where various research groups based in our university are very active internationally. For these research groups, and I hope for all attendants to the conference, I'm sure this conference gathering more than 300 delegates from 50 different countries will be extremely enlightening. In this regard, this cross-cultural component blesses the event with an additional value, for in the field of education, as in life, I think, differences, far from being a problem or an obstacle, are precisely a catalyst for innovation, for revisiting our assumptions and methods, and for seeing things otherwise, for generating other approaches, in this case, other research approaches and also other approaches to teaching, alternative teaching practices. Along the intensive 4-day program organized in addition to the pre-conference workshop already held yesterday, this conference will certainly contribute to discover the state of the art in teaching and in different countries, and also the challenges that lie ahead, and will surely foster further future collaboration. In this regard, I'm sure that the achievement of the conference will not end with the conference closing scheduled on Friday. As we all know, the benefits of conferences endure long after the celebration, because face-to-face collaboration and contact generates more cooperation and contact. They spark of new projects, they spark of new ventures and adventures, for instance, at the level of research. And they also trigger renewed wishes for meeting together in special events and occasions like the one we're living today, and which you will be living for the next 4 days. I'm sure the conference will not only be an opportunity to grow scientifically and professionally in the dimension of academic knowledge, but will also be a great chance to share experience, to weave interpersonal relations, to enjoy rewarding moments, which we hope will stay indelibly engraved in your minds. And it's a pleasure and an honor for us as hosts that these memories might endure, framed in the visual landscape of Salamanca, with the magnificent towers of the cathedral and the fabulous facade where a tiny frog is waiting to be discovered, with the taste of Spanish delicacies, and with the picturesque views of our countryside. It is also rewarding, I think, to consider that these days will perhaps be linked for you to this 8th-century-old university, where under the auspices of King Alphonse IX, one of the Studia Generalia recognized in Europe, the Study Salmantini, was created to provide education to students of all geographical origin in an institution with expert teachers who were institutionally encouraged already at that age to travel abroad in order to exchange their knowledge with other colleagues in the lingua franca Latin of that day and age. I think this is a spirit similar to that which brought us here together today. We really hope that this conference will remain a significant landmark, of course, reminiscent of this common past, but merely, as the Director General said, as a foundation on which to jump up and continue building a common future, the future of teaching and teachers in our global world, and the future of a group of persons who were able to experience and reflect on cross-cultural issues in education in Salamanca. For all these reasons, I also want to thank particularly, to express our gratitude to the Ministry of Education, Culture and Sports for their institutional support for this event. Please let me give the floor to Mr. Jorge Sainz, Secretary General for Universities in the Spanish Ministry of Education, Culture and Sports, who will formally inaugurate the conference. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, good morning to everyone. I have to recognize, first I want to thank you, the Vice Rector of the University of Salamanca, the Director General of Castilla y León, and all the members of the International Study Association on Teachers and Teaching in the table, and all of you, of course. I want to thank the International Study Association on Teaching and Teaching for inviting the Ministry to this Congress, because actually it's one of the few places where we love to be with teachers and learn about them. I have to recognize I'm a researcher myself, and I do one thing that you should never tell teachers you do. I'm an economist and I do economics of education, so I just work on evaluation and on those issues, on PISA and all that stuff. So I feel very close to all your work and all your stuff. For us, for the ministry, is one of the most important things in our daily life. To know what teachers and teachers think, and also what they do. I always remember that Joseph Schumpeter, who was one of the greatest economists of the 20th century, he said that the most important thing for a person are his or her mother and his or her teacher. There is nothing else in their lives. So I think, and as economists, I just try to be on those lines. In Spain, it's a especially brilliant moment on education. I mean, right now there is a special commission on the Spanish Congress who is working trying to find an agreement, a national agreement on education, and there are many experts going to the commissions and working on different issues. They are working on inclusion, how to include all the students on the schools, how to make them success at the schools. We are working on topics as well. They are working on topics as bullying, what to do with bullying, and which is one of the main issues right now in Spain. They are working on evaluation, of course, as I told you before. I think it's another big issue in education, how to evaluate, what to evaluate, and what the evaluations are for, what we can use evaluation for, because sometimes we tend to use evaluation for too many things, and sometimes we tend not to use it. How to work on fairness on education, which is another very important issue in Spain, especially working on grants. How curricular design has to be made, which areas are important, which areas should be the main ones for students. Which school models are the more relevant for success in a country? We have seen all the examples on different countries, how different models work for different countries, and which model should be the most important for Spain. And one of the big issues probably the most important issues about teachers. Without doubt, is probably the most important issue in the Commission. There have been very strong discussions about proposals on teacher selection, how teachers have to be selected for schools. Is the current system the best system on how to select teachers? What should be the career of the teachers? Which are the thresholds, the different aspects that should be achieved for teachers along their careers? Another is related issues, what should be the lifelong learning for teachers, how teachers should be, what they have to learn about along, on the lines of their career, especially in a moment right now where new technologies are breaking every day on the school rooms, and everybody has to learn how to use new technologies just to be online with our students. That's a very important issue. There is also a big importance on what should be the teacher authority, how teacher authority should work on the classroom, and what are the different effects of different models of teacher authority. As you can see, all the topics that we are covering on the Commission are the same topics that you are covering in some of your sessions. And I'm sure that your conclusions and what you work here will get ready, will go and somehow go to that commission, the commission will get informed about that. And that's important because in some way it shows that Salamanca, after 800 years, as the Director General said, is becoming wiser and more, and not old, but ancient and wise. And we think that all the information we can get, all the wiseness we can get into the Commission will help to get a more important and more relevant future law on education. And we think that's important because in Spain we haven't been so lucky with agreements on education, and it's a special moment for us. We are working also on a general agreement on higher education, which is mainly the topic I cover. We are working on 8 main areas that I think they are going to be very important as well for teaching education. First, we are going to focus on students. We believe that we have to focus on students because they are the final result of our work. So we are developing new areas on how to make them more prepared after they leave our universities. We are working on the internationalization of our university. You may know that Spain is the main reference on the Erasmus program, but still we don't have that many international students in our bachelor degrees. We have to work on those issues, and we are trying to work and make more attractive our universities outside of Spain. We are working also on how to relate the university to the society. You know, sometimes universities don't pair with society. We have to work on that. We have to get our universities the closest to society as possible. We have to get our university also as close to other research centers and other both depending from the government and from companies, so we can get closer the knowledge that comes from the university, we can get it closer to society. We have to work on funding of the universities. I know that the Vice Rector will be completely agree with that. We have to work on how funding of universities is working, how we have to move to a goal-based scheme as soon as possible. We have to work on no discrimination of students on the reasons of where they were born or which province they were born, whether they were born in a city or myself on a rural area. We have to work also on the fairness of grants for the students. We have to work also on collaboration with the universities on the modernization of these structures, which is one of the main issues in the Spanish university and I guess all over the world. And of course we have to work as well as we did on non-universities on the career of teachers and professors at universities, which should be relevant for their whole life, and we should be able to reward the people who work the best and they make a big effort. As you can see now in the ministry we have our hands full and we have to keep working on some of the issues we are working right now, and please let us know what are your conclusions here on these topics, because we will be ready to for sure implement some of them. Thank you. Therefore, I declare open the sessions of this Congress.